On today's episode, we talk way too early free agency, the Arizona Fall League, give some hot takes, and see what's happening in the MLB Playoffs. You're listening to the Bucco Bantr podcast, brought to you by the Just Baseball Media Network. Cue the music.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates. Order steak by the plate, send in case after case. Run my race at my pace, clear the grass of the snake.
Adam, are you ready for some way too early free agency talk? Like way too early?
Way too early, man. The season's not over.
I mean, we just reached the championship series in the playoffs, and we're already thinking about who the Pirates can add in the offseason as if they're going to add any of the guys that we name. But hey, we can dream.
There's some guys that are free agents that are still playing that we could dream on, that you could picture in the black and gold and be like, man, Juan Soto would look really good in right field.
He would. You
can dream.
I mean, we do have Paul Skeens, who, like, if he was on another team, we would be dreaming about him. So
right.
Yeah, man. It's fun to think about these things in early to mid October.
It's not fun. Stop lying to yourself. This is not fun.
It's not fun. Yeah.
We're building for the future every single year. That's not fun. There's baseball still going on. We could be watching baseball right now, which, listen, the Steelers won today. That was awesome. They scored more than 30 points. Crazy. I didn't even know what to do with myself. It was the Raiders. Just like, it's sad when there's meaningful baseball being played and the only baseball that's happening in Pittsburgh is people listening to the 1960 World Series on the radio, because that's like the last good thing that happened.
I know. And I was going to bring that up anyway. So that's a good segue. I mean, today is the 60th, 64th anniversary, 1960. I'm not going to do the math right now, guys.
64th.
Okay, cool. That was just top of the head.
Yeah.
Big math guy here.
Huge.
That was like the talk of Pirates Twitter today, which there's not usually a lot to talk about on Pirates Twitter unless you're protesting. But Bill Mazeroski, 1960 against the Yankees, home run at Forbes Field. I think they had a little event today at Forbes Field in Oakland.
Yeah, so apparently they do that.
I did not know that.
Had no idea. And I'm glad I had no idea, because I'll say this. It's kind of cool. Like, people get together and they like relive a cool moment. But do you think we would still be doing that if the Pirates were playing meaningful baseball for even the last couple of years?
No.
If the Pirates were in the playoffs right now, are people huddling up in Oakland by a wall that used to be a baseball field to listen to a game on the radio that happened 64 years ago?
Probably not like during the playoffs, but like it is one of the biggest moments in baseball postseason history. So
no, I
think
agree.
We talk about it.
No, okay, but like the media around it, should it be limited to like, on this day 64 years ago, this happened, and then that's it?
Yeah.
It's not like hey, let's get the kids and some blankets and go sit by a wall and listen to the good times.
Yeah, let's leave that to the guy, what's his name, Jim, who runs the This Day in Pirates Twitter account. It's a pretty awesome Twitter account.
Yeah, I like that account a lot.
Yeah, let's leave it to him to cover that stuff and focus on actual October baseball, where the Pirates should be. I would say this year, but more often than they have been my entire lifetime, which is 4 times, and I'm 30. I wish I was 4, but
so do I, man. What have they done to us? What have they done to us? Well, listen, that was cool. I mean, the videos it's heartwarming in a sense to see people like actually get together because of baseball, right? At the end of the day, it's still something that ties the community together and shows that people still care about the Pirates succeeding despite recent history and just doing the same thing over and over again. You could still kind of hold on to something good that happened and drink that hopium for the future, whatever that hopium may be. It needs to be strong.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of hope. It's like I was gonna say, what's the song? It's like you found like love in a hopeless
hopeless
place.
place. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Look at us.
That's Pirates baseball, baby. Well, you mentioned it earlier. Let's get into it then. Free agents.
Free agent talk.
Now there's a lot that are gonna hit the market and see their worth this offseason. What do we think, Scott? I mean, do you have any like guys that you're dreaming on that maybe are out of reach for the Pirates, or somebody that might be more in the ballpark that's a realistic option?
Yeah, I mean, I have some guys that are like long shots. And when I say long shots, I just mean if we're being realistic, the chance of the Pirates doling out 20 million a year for this guy is very slim because they've never done it. And that would include guys like Christian Walker, you know, at first base. I think he would be a fun add. And then also Tyler O'Neill. And I don't know if Tyler O'Neill is going to be 20 mil, but like he's almost a 3-WAR player this year.
31 home runs.
31 homers, 30 years old. So like that's a guy that I think is going to go for more than they're comfortable with. But let's first address before, you know, and I want to hear your guys too, but let's discuss what the Pirates need in free agency. And
yeah,
I think we'll both agree that bullpen help is a big, and I think they could address that issue for less than 10 million total,
which is what you're paying or what you paid Aroldis Chapman.
Yep. And I think they need corner outfielders.
Two.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are two big spots for me. You could argue that first base, even though Brian Reynolds is rumored to be moving there, you could also argue up the middle, like shortstop full-time. Is IKF a full-time shortstop? I don't think so. We've seen him do that on a team already. So those are the areas that I focused on when I was looking at the free agent list.
Here's how I look at it realistically. Yes, you probably need two. That's assuming that Brian Reynolds makes a smooth transition to first base. I think realistically you need one corner outfielder. I think you need a first baseman or somebody who is capable of playing first base, because you have Endy coming, who's going to probably get some reps at first base. You're going to get Billy Cook maybe coming back, who you know you could play there, but is he an everyday player? Probably not. Connor Joe is going to be on the roster depending on, you know, whatever happens this offseason. Do you want Connor Joe to be your everyday first baseman? Absolutely not. You have Jared Triolo, and that's all dependent on the bats. All those guys that I named are probably not, or most likely not, everyday guys at first base. You need somebody who's going to be a stronghold there that you have to a multi-year deal. So one corner outfielder, a first baseman, a shortstop, and possibly another corner middle infielder.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, assuming that Brian Hayes comes back, you don't know how he's going to deal with the injuries. You don't know if that back is going to stay healthy. You don't know if the bat is ever going to wake up. So that being said, I think it might be a little bit easier to address what they need. I like Tyler O'Neill. I think there's a lot of room for him to regress from this season. I mean, if you just look at history, 31 bombs is by far his best season. It's a good season by any means.
And he was hurt for a good portion of it.
Right. He Ks a lot. So, you're also getting another guy who strikes out a lot, but the Pirates don't hit the long ball. And we talked about this last episode. The long ball is the reason a lot of these teams in the postseason have been successful. What's the reason the Dodgers put away the Padres this past series?
Yep.
2 long balls.
Yep.
What's the reason the Mets have been so successful this postseason? Opportune home runs at the right time. Why did the Guardians just put away the Gritty Tigers? A grand slam. 2. Well, they had 2. Did they hit 2 this series? Or they hit what? It was Elaine Thomas.
I think it was just Elaine Tom. Did they? No, you're thinking of Kerry Carpenter.
Kerry Carpenter hit one as
Tigers,
well.
Yeah.
Well, still, point still stands. Adding a guy that can add 30 home runs, assuming that O'Neill's going to come back healthy and hit 30 or have a 30-30 year. If Brian can hit 20 plus, okay, that's 3 guys in your lineup that are hitting 20 plus. And that doesn't account for anybody else. We're just talking those 3 guys alone. So I like Tyler, but I would probably agree with you. I don't think IKF is the answer at shortstop. I don't mind IKF being on this roster, but I don't want IKF being the everyday guy.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it already when he was on the Yankees. Like, and he did really well when he went to the Blue Jays this year and focused on third base and other positions too. Like, he moved around a little bit. I have a couple guys written down that could be up the middle players that they look at as an everyday shortstop. One I'm not super intrigued on is Paul DeJong, but he's definitely a guy that sounds like he would be on their radar. He's 31 years old, and he had 24 home runs this year as a shortstop. But he slashed 227, 276, 427 with a 703 OPS. He also had a 32% K rate. So you're juggling the whole, hey, they struck out a lot this year, but they also didn't hit the long ball. And so I tried to make note of all their K rates and their power numbers or slugs. And he seems like a guy that they might target, but it's not a super sexy option, right? And he was also originally drafted by the Pirates his junior or draft eligible sophomore year out of Illinois State in the 38th round in 2014. Not that matters anything, just a little fun fact, because
we had that conversation a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this guy was drafted by the Pirates and he either told them to fuck off or he like did something else later on in his
Walker
career.
Buehler out of high school. It's like, yeah, I'm going to go to Vanderbilt. So
Right.
As many guys do. And then real quick, just another option that I would mention is Med Rosario. He is a guy that I wanted them to go after the trade deadline this year. He plays a little bit of everywhere. He plays all the outfield positions. He can play a good shortstop. He doesn't hit the long ball, though. He only had 3 home runs this year, but he will put bat on the ball. He's a guy that I think you could put at the 9 hole comfortably, and he's going to turn over the lineup consistently, get on base, and make a lot of contact. So he's the antithesis to Paul DeJong, but I could see both of those guys being options for this front office.
I like Rosario. I think that's very realistic for the Pirates. That's a contract that they can probably get for a Pirates bargain, right? That's somebody that they're not going to have to dish out a lot of, more than $5 million to, probably, right? But at the same time, it's probably going to be like, hey, let's bring him in on a 1-year deal.
Right.
Which is like, do we want to go through this whole charade again of just like rotating guys in and out, hoping it works and that we can like build around that when we've proven that we really can't? I don't know. But I have him on my list as well because I think it's the most realistic option. My dream guy right now is Ha-Seong Kim.
Yeah.
I don't know how his free agency is going to go because of the shoulder injury that ended his year this year, if he's still going to have the same value, but it's just a guy that is positive 2 WAR player, 101 WRC plus. His teammates seem to love him. Very good glove, great range, good arm strength, walks a ton. Probably not going to give you, the home runs that like Paul DeJong is going to get you, but probably a guy that you could be comfortable giving a multi-year contract to.
Yeah, definitely a multi-year. You're not giving a multi-year to DeJong. You're not going to give a multi-year to Rosario. But Ha-Seong Kim's a different story because he's going to provide value with the bat and the glove, and he's younger, I believe, as well. So also a sleeper name, and he's not a sexy name either, is Kike Hernandez. When I made this list, it was just realistic, I guess, with some guys that I thought were far-fetched, but I put them on there just in case. And what you see with Kike is he's older. He's 33. He can play a little bit of everywhere too, and I know the Pirates value that. And he also seems like a big clubhouse guy.
Huge.
So, I mean, he's had 2 stints with the Dodgers. He's you always saw him, front and center with the Red Sox too. So he's a guy that looks like he could be a contributor to the culture, and that's something we talked about, on a previous episode. Something that this team and organization lacks is culture. Now I want to pivot real quick to corner outfield and give you two options that I have written down that I really like, that I think are realistic. I already mentioned Tyler O'Neill, but now I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to go Michael Conforto and Max Kepler.
Okay.
Not sexy picks either, right? These guys are both 32 years old, but both pretty good outfielders with bat to ball skills, high upside. If healthy, especially with Conforto, if healthy. This is a guy who came out of college and was hitting right away. He was a 1.3 WAR player this year in San Francisco, had 20 homers and 66 RBIs, 24% K rate. And then Kepler, 253, 302, 380 with 8 home runs, 42 RBIs. I think he was hurt for a good portion of the year. He was a 1 WAR player, 20% K rate. I feel like Kepler is this guy who everyone has expected every year to break out in a crazy way because he's just super athletic, plays a really good outfield, has all the tools. He's either hurt or, he's missing time for something. So not sexy picks, but I'll tell you what, one thing I'm focusing on is slug and defense in those corner outfield spots. And I think both of those guys provide a little bit of both.
I don't want to contradict myself for the next segment that we're going to have. Well, I guess in 2 segments, depending on how we decide to go about this, because we're going to preview the AFL and then we're going to give some hot takes. I don't know how I feel. I like Conforto a lot. I think 20 bombs is great. I don't know how he fares in left field. That's for the Pirates. That's like something I've just been getting hung up on a lot. Expected slugging for him is great. Like, I think the numbers, he could be like primed for a great year moving forward. But if the Pirates, they haven't committed to this move yet, but like if the talk is real and they truly want to try Brian Reynolds out at first base, and it's like, okay, now we're opening up the outfield for 2 spots, right? Most importantly, left field at PNC Park. You need somebody that's going to provide a plus glove out there. He's got a good arm. I don't know if he has the range to cover left field at PNC Park. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of Conforto to be like, maybe the numbers they aren't true to like the player on an everyday basis, but I think it's not a bad option. Like, I wouldn't mind that. It's just a matter of like, how does he plug in every single day with that defensive strategy?
That's a really good point. And that's why, and I'll wait till our episode with, I'll tease a little bit, our episode with Noah next week, where we're going to really dive into this whole free agency talk and offseason talk. I have 2 outfielders in mind that they could trade for that I'm over the moon about. I did a little bit of research this week, and these are controllable guys that are young, very good defensively, and have high upside. I obviously think that these would be the better options to a Conforto in Kepler, but what is it going to take to trade for these guys? I don't know. And the free agent class, as we've said, is not the best this year. So like, this might come down to getting creative on the trade market.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they need to get creative. Noah mentioned it on the show before. You have to feel the pressure now. So you would think that the necessary moves are going to be made, but there's just a lot of what ifs right now. I think the biggest one, and maybe we should go into this first, Scott, is the hot takes, because I feel like this could tie into a little bit of this free agency talk.
Yeah, let's do that.
The biggest what if right now, and I guess I'll get it kicked off with my first hot take. I actually have 2. I told you I had 1. I think I have 2 now.
Okay, go for it.
I don't think we see Brian Reynolds at first base seriously next year. I think we see Brian Reynolds in right field more likely than we see him as our everyday first baseman. I think the talk and like the idea is strong, but nobody's considering, can Brian Reynolds play infield at a major league level? We've seen very poor first base play in recent memory. You remember how bad Josh Bell was at first base. Josh Bell was a former outfielder who they turned into a first baseman.
Center fielder.
Right. which is crazy to think about if you look at Josh Bell today.
He was on the first base diet as soon as he got to the Bros.
Yeah, 100%. But first base is incredibly difficult. Like, I know you like, we could joke around about like the whole Moneyball thing, and it's like, how difficult is it? It's like, it's extremely difficult. Can he play that? And like, you complain about Brian Reynolds' defense in left field right now. What makes you think his defense is going to be above average at first base?
Yeah.
It's either, to me right now, unless I'm completely wrong about him being able to adapt to the position, I think the safer thing is to move him in right, where there's a little bit less room to cover. His arm is strong. It's gotten stronger, so it might play still pretty well out there. He might get some more put out opportunities. I don't see that move being as smooth or as easy of a transition as the talk has made it out to be right now. And I think that's going to play a huge role in what the Pirates do in free agency. And it's like, hey, do we want this everlasting question at first base between, as I mentioned, Endy Rodriguez, Connor Joe, Billy Cook, Jared Triolo, Brian Reynolds? Or do we want to go out and get one guy that you can maybe say like, hey, for the next 2 to 3 years, we know this guy can play first base because he's done it at a high level for X amount of years, instead of gambling with 5 guys and just rotating them out, which then just creates inevitably more difficult roster moves to be made.
Yeah. No, I think right field is much more realistic. But there's one little hang up here. Are they going to non-tender Brian De La Cruz? Because he ain't playing left field, I'll tell you that much.
Probably not.
Because I think you should really go into this offseason trying to get 2 corner outfielders, and improving your outfield defense. But they're so stuck on the controllable assets that I don't see BDLC going anywhere. Could they package him with somebody in a trade?
I think that's something that should be considered. At least it would have to be packaged. It's not going to be BDLC straight up for somebody unless it's like a prospect that you're going to dream on.
We don't want to pay for our vending machines anymore, guys. Just pay for our vending machines.
Oh my God. I think BDLC doesn't go anywhere, but then it becomes, do you want BDLC to start? No. Do you want BDLC to come off the bench? No. Because if he's coming off the bench, it's because you need a pinch hit.
But that's the issue, man. Like, I want my 4th outfielder to be able to play up the middle, at least somewhat.
You want your 4th outfielder to be a guy you could plug in innings 7 through 9 and be like, okay, you're out there for defense.
And that too, like a defensive replacement. And Brian De La Cruz doesn't offer any of that. He's a DH. And if we're going to bring back McCutchen, which I feel like all signs point that way, can we really have only 2 DH onlys on this team?
No.
I
think a serious team who makes the right moves, all of the right moves, ends up with him not being on the roster, whether that means via trade, which again, like, I don't want to harp on the years of control because that's what the Pirates like, but like that might hold more value to another team as well, where they're like, hey, for the next 3 years, we could have BDLC and do whatever we want.
The Chicago White Sox.
Right. You're only paying them like $750K a year.
Yeah.
So like, do those strikeouts really like hurt you for a team that's like truly building from the bottom up? Probably not. Which brings me to my next hot take, and then I'll let you go. But I just wanted to build off of this. If you're going to package him in a deal with somebody, my next hot take would be, if the Pirates get creative, I think I would look into trading Bailey Falter. Here's why. We were huge Bailey Falter fans going into this year.
Because he's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. Notorious nice guy. He overperformed so much. He outdid every expectation and then some. Bailey Falter took us multiple times into like the 7th inning with no hits. He ate a ton of innings at the back of the rotation. He was out for a little bit with an injury, but for the most part, he was pretty consistent throughout the entire year of being available. I think there's a real opportunity outside of him just being the only like viable option as a lefty right now, of him being pushed out of the rotation just because of the talent that they have with Bubba coming up, possibly Thomas Harrington. Does Luis Ortiz make the rotation? Then it's like, okay, the only way that he gets in here now, if he's truly better, and maybe because they need a different look with a lefty. The reason I say look into trading him is because the value is probably as high as it's ever going to be with Bailey Falter.
And I still don't think you're going to get
a
top-notch guy, but I think you could get creative here.
I think you can get a major league hitter. I think you can get a major league hitter from another team that desperately needs pitching. So, I don't want to say like the Orioles, but like maybe there's another team like that's like on the cusp of winning that has a lot of talent on the offensive side of things that can provide a guy that's going to make its way up this year, or a guy that can be like a positive WAR player throughout 162 for Bailey Falter. Not an all-star. I'm not saying the guy has to be an all-star, but somebody who you could plug in as a corner outfielder, a first baseman, maybe a middle infielder, to provide an arm, a lefty arm that's been very good.
Yeah, no, I like the idea. Because I had mentioned before on a previous episode that maybe Luis Ortiz is a trade candidate.
I mean, also Ortiz as well. But I don't mean to cut you off there, but like my only thought process behind, because it was brought down to like Ortiz and Falter for me. I like Ortiz in the rotation, but I also like Ortiz going back to the bullpen if we needed him there, because he's proven to us that he can be dominant in that long man role. That was the only distinction between both of them for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we haven't really seen Falter in a bullpen. Did we see him in bullpen in 23?
Maybe probably.
But like, obviously it wasn't memorable. It didn't stick with us. So I like the idea. I think you could definitely get creative. You've got a deal from depth. Hey, maybe you can trade Bailey Falter and Brian De La Cruz to the Marlins for Jun-Chuck Shim. I don't know, but
could you imagine?
That'd be funny. I would be really happy, and I know Aram and Jack would be happy too for the Pirates. I know Aram wouldn't be happy for the Marlins, but that would be funny.
Has Shim pitched at all yet? I know we're about to get to
I haven't checked, but we do need to look at that. I know that Aram and Jack will be at his start if he pitches
1,000%. Yeah.
So, but I guess I'm going to go with my hot take real quick, and we can go into the AFL after. Not a super hot take, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that the Pirates are going to sign a multi-year deal this offseason. My only reasoning is because they freaking should.
Because they have to.
They have to. Like, the Reds signed, 2 last year? And they finished a couple games above us in 4th. And I still they got Terry Francona coming in, and I think they have some promise. They have some guys. They need to improve offensively, but not going to go down the Reds rabbit hole. But the Pirates definitely need to sign a multi-year deal. They need to, especially after the Rowdy and IKF debacles at the end of the season, they need to show a sign of good faith from the front office. You need to show guys like Paul and Jared that, hey, we want to build a winner here. And then also show outside free agents, hey, we mean business. We want to contend next year. This is a place that you want to be. We've got the best pitcher on the planet. We've got the best ballpark on the planet. Come to Pittsburgh. So, and when I say multi-year deal, it could be 2 years, $20 million, like $345. Anything like anything above a 1 year, $8 million deal. I think that is going to be key, and I think it's going to be a position player. Bullpen, I think you can sign. I think they can sign 2 or 3 arms in the bullpen for 1 year, $3-4 million. And I think they could keep that to $10 to $12 million total. I think they can vastly improve their bullpen depth through free agency for very little. But they need to get creative. They wasted, like, Aroldis Chapman was obviously a valuable signing last year. And I would be open to having him back, but it's probably going to be more than 10.5 million, I'd have to assume. So let's spread that money out a little bit better. Let's get more creative and spend your dollars wisely.
You would hope Dario Moreta comes back healthy for the bullpen, right? You possibly look into re-signing Ryan Bucco, who you probably get on a great deal considering he was hurt.
And he's the reason, and Chapman are the reasons why I'm looking at mostly lefty bullpen arms in the free agent market. But yeah, I mean, Bucco's definitely a candidate to come back.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the bullpen arms that AJ Minter, Wandy Peralta, I had.
Wandy Peralta's a free agent.
He can opt out, I think.
Okay.
So
I like Yarbrough and TJ McFarland from the A's.
Also good options too. Another arm I had, just arm generally, was Hunter Strickland for a bullpen arm. But
okay.
Besides the point, I mean, like, there's just a lot of moving pieces, right? And I don't want to go back. I agree with you. Like, there needs to be a 2 to 3 year deal. It would be a major change in philosophy, considering like Sherrington and Shelty probably know this is it for them. So it's like, do we want to bring in guys that are going to go past our tenure here in Pittsburgh when it's like we need to focus on what's now, or do they have the same mentality where it's like, okay, we still need to maintain the farm and we still need to build for the future based on what we're given? I think there's like other opportunities, even if you get rid of like a Bailey Falter. This also, okay, I'll throw this in because this also might be a hot take too. Jordan Montgomery is not going back to the Diamondbacks. Not after what the owner said.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely gone, and that was wild. But he's an interesting candidate too, because the Pirates. You mentioned Bailey Falter leaving, and I'm not super opposed to having an all right-handed rotation.
Neither am I, but I see the value in having some type of switch
different looks, but also you can have different looks from the same hand.
Of course,
It's just you got to make sure you supplement that in the bullpen where you have a lot of lefty arms, and like that's where Bucco might be gone and Chapman might be gone. So like, Jordan Montgomery is a very interesting candidate. I actually really like Jordan Montgomery. I think he started his season he wasn't ramped up. He had some injury, and he's still at a younger age, and I still think he has it in him. I mean, he's 1 year removed from a World Series, like,
right?
Really, really good arm. So
yeah, he's 32. He's 32. He's, like I said, he's not going back to the Diamondbacks. They called him the worst mistake they've ever made. Crazy thing to come out and say publicly.
You guys employed Kurt Schilling, but that's all right.
Wild. So I mean, like, and also here's the thing with him as well. He waited too long last year. He held out and he didn't get the deal that he wanted. And he signed with the Diamondbacks, who are coming off a World Series, who they look like they're trying to build. Doesn't have a good year. He might need to sign another 1 year deal somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that could be an option for the Pirates. Another lefty arm that I threw out was Kikuchi, as well as going to be a free agent. If you're like truly saying like, hey, if we're going to get rid of the only starting lefty arm that we have, and we're going to go out and supplement that with a veteran because we absolutely feel the need to have a different look coming out of that rotation, then I think those are two veteran options, where like a guy like Kikuchi threw 175 innings this year.
Yeah.
That's somebody that holds tremendous value and gives you definitely a different look compared to what you have now. So way too early predictions, but I think those are options that probably need to be considered.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what they do. I haven't even looked at starting pitching, to be honest with you, because I figured they probably would focus mostly on the bullpen and the outfield. But again, we'll see. There could be trades that are to be had, and arms move. So we might need to sign another rotation piece.
Sure.
Should we go into the Arizona Fall League, Adam?
Yeah, let's touch on it. I think there are some positives, right?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. We're going to start with, because we recorded last episode on a Wednesday. But the Wednesday game had not been played yet. It was a night game. We're on the East Coast. They're in Arizona. So I'm going to start with Wednesday. The Scottsdale Scorpions, because we're a big Scorpions pod.
Huge.
Huge. Just to remind everybody. 19-3 loss to the Mesa Solar Sox. I'm so anti-Solar Sox. But the Pirates contributors in this one, Giovanni Blanchard, the catcher, 1 for 3 with a double and an RBI and a walk. Bidwa had his first relief appearance, didn't go well, went third of an inning, 4 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, and a K. Derek Diamond also was the last arm on the mound. He went 2 innings, 2 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned, 1 walk, and 2 Ks. Adam, you want to bring us into Thursday?
I think we need to sell the entire team.
Yep, same.
It's just clear house. Let's start over versus surprise Segueros. Termar 2 for 4. This is like what we're looking for with him. Just keep getting these reps. 2 runs. He had a triple. Ball was absolutely scorched to the left center field gap. Just barreled it as well as you possibly could. He's hitting 500 right now. He had a walk on the day, so he's in the leadoff spot as well. So he's showing why he can hit in that spot with the eye that he has in the advanced approach, and being able to cut down that K rate and make more contact will be able to go, well, at the same time, being able to go gap to gap. And he said something interesting in an interview with AFL. I don't know if you heard this. He called himself the best hitter in the world, and that he needs to do anything possible to like prove that he's him. Yeah. Which is, I mean,
he's young slime. He's already young slime.
Saying you're the best hitter in the world is unbelievable. Like, that's crazy stuff to say, but I love the self-confidence that he has as like a 20-year-old who clearly isn't the best hitter in the world, but like has all of the tools to be a top dog in the league. So it's nice to see him square up. You had Sammy Ciani hitting 5th, went 1 for 5. His average is at 300 right now. And then Kervin Pichardo, 1 for 4 with a K, hitting 250, which brings us to the game against the Glendale Desert Dogs on Friday.
Yeah, Friday, 6-1 loss to the Glendale Renegade Dogs.
Jesus Christ, we can't buy a game out here.
We can't buy a game. Come on, Scottsdale. But Termar led off again and played shortstop this game. And he went 0 for 2 with 3 walks. It seems like he's definitely he's doing well so far at the start of the fall league, leading off. And it seems like he has a good approach at the plate, if you will, I guess. He's been walking a lot, not striking out a ton. I feel like he struck out a lot in Greensboro this year. I don't know exactly what his K rate was to finish the season, but seeing him succeed in Arizona is definitely a positive for this Pirates organization in the offseason. I just had a note here that Jeff McNeil was in this game.
Yeah.
He is coming back from an injury. He was basically making a rehab start, and he's going to go join the Mets in the NLCS, which I thought was pretty funny. Blanchard went 1 for 4 with a K. And then Linares came in a relief appearance, 1 1/3, no hits, no earned runs, clean inning, and 1 out, additional out. So that brings us to Saturday. Adam, take us away.
Yeah, real quick. Termar's K rate at high A was 21.6, and then at double A, 19.3.
Oh, that's actually not that bad.
No, so
I felt like when I was doing down on the farm, when I was keeping track of the stats, that he was K'ing a lot, but I will take 21.6.
Oh, absolutely. I think then it's just a matter then of your slash line, right? Like if you're getting that K rate down, but you're also not like driving in a ton of runs, and you're not like getting on base as much, like there still needs to like show the production. I think there was times where he just like slumped really hard for weeks at a time.
And he's 20 years old, so if to say I'm panicking or worried is I'm not, but I definitely want to see a step forward. And, we'll see.
Yeah. Saturday, 10-2 W. We're all the way back against the Glendale Desert Dogs. Sammy Ciani, 2 for 3, 2 runs, double with a walk. Got that average up to 385. Kervin Pichardo, 1 for 3 with a double, RBI, and a walk. Eddie Yean earns a hold, 1 pitch, 1 hit, 1 K, 4.5 ERA, and Bidwa, 1 inning pitch, 2 walks, 3 Ks. Eddie Yean, I think, is a minor league free agent.
No way.
At the end of the year.
Interesting. Is he gonna be up for the Rule 5 draft possibly?
I don't know. Ethan Houlihan had some interesting stuff about minor league free agencies and successor contracts with these guys, either playing in the AFL or like what happens after the World Series. These guys become free agents after the World Series unless they sign like a contract in the meantime to extend. I think he becomes a free agent.
Interesting.
I don't know if he's Rule 5 eligible.
So this is interesting because if he's Rule 5 eligible, they'll need to put him on the 40-man by there's a deadline in November, and we'll cover all this when the time comes, right? When the non-tender deadline and the Rule 5 deadline for the 40-man. But this could be a case where they're showcasing him. Just putting that out there. But he's also a guy that could be a bullpen option. So we'll see. This is definitely a big month for him pitching wise.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about more baseball.
Please, let's do.
That's going on right now. These playoffs have been some of the more exciting playoffs I've ever watched. Yeah. I think just period. From even before they started with the doubleheader with the Braves and the Mets to date, it's been so exciting. Innings 1 through 9, just the bullpen arms that you're seeing, the strategy that's being put into place, the long ball in key moments. It's so cool to watch. And sometimes I find myself watching football and I'm like, man, I wish baseball was on right now.
You know what? I don't think that's a crazy take, because I have been saying this for the past month. I think so far this year that the NFL product is down.
Yeah.
And baseball has been way more exciting. And some people are just football diehards and will argue that until you die. But whatever. I agree with you on the fact that the MLB playoffs this has been one of the best ones in recent memory. And I'm really excited to get these championship series started, which tonight is, as we're recording, 8:30 on a Sunday night. The Mets and Dodgers are playing game 1 of the NLCS.
Crazy. I mean, the Mets story has been unbelievable, but yeah, I agree with the NFL. It's just been, I can't do another ineligible offensive lineman downfield. I can't do it, man. Like
I thought Zach Bantr was gone.
Dude, it's driving me up a wall where I'm like, oh, that was a good play. Never mind. It's a 10-yard penalty. Like, it's just, I know like pace of play with baseball has been the big issue for years, but I think they've corrected that. And then just the product that's on the field is just so much better than it's ever been that it's just.
I'm going to stop you there. If the NFL season were to end right now, Sam Darnold would be MVP. So carry on.
Enough said. I don't even need to say anymore. I don't. I listen, good for the Steelers, but it's just like I'm watching these games and I'm just like, man, like there's no moment like when anything good happens, you kind of should be like, okay, like what went wrong where that's going to like tear the joy right away from me. Where in baseball, that doesn't happen. And I can feel that even without the Pirates being on the field. Usually it is without the Pirates being on the field where I am feeling joy, but I'm going to shout out myself here real quick, Scott. I have only been wrong in one series in my entire bracket.
Who's your final 4?
My final 4 is the Guardians, Yankees, Dodgers, and it was the Phillies.
Very good, man. I went 1 for 4.
I saw you put a tweet out on you retweeted our brackets. You called yourself the BDLC.
1 for 4 with 3 Ks.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Props to the Mets, man. I really thought Philly was going to be an issue just because they have the experience. Like they've been so close before and they obviously have the talent, but momentum in baseball is everything.
Yeah, it really is.
At this time of the year. And you saw the Tigers ride it all the way to game 5. I mean, if it wasn't for a grand slam, they're right there.
Yep.
Tariq Skubal, I mean, you put him out on the mound, you expect to win. Yep. Give yourself a good chance to win, which was interesting. After giving up a grand slam, they still sent him out there. And he still was good.
Yeah, he's a dog. He won a Triple Crown this year. Like he's unbelievable. And the Guardians were definitely a better team. and they ended up pulling it out. And I think the Phillies were a better team than the Mets, but the Phillies just didn't hit.
Yeah.
And the Mets have been hot. And you look at their rotation, and you're like, not that sexy. Kodai Senga starting tonight against Jack Flaherty in game 1. Got Sean Manaea tomorrow. Sean Manaea has been a dog, an absolute dog. Like, he shut out the Phillies. So you're getting contributions when it matters from these guys, and you know, the hot hand wins, and we've seen this time and time again in October. But let's talk about the Mets Dodgers first, because they're playing tonight. It's NLCS. We got Senga Flaherty tonight. I did see that Max Muncy had a bases loaded 2-run single, so it's 2-0 Dodgers so far. They're starting in LA. Should be a fun series. Two of the highest spending organizations in the league, I think. The Mets have the highest payroll. The Dodgers might be second or third.
Are the Dodgers really second or third?
Yeah, it goes Mets first, and it goes like Yankees or Dodgers 2 or 3.
Wow.
And then the Guardians are like way below them.
Dodgers in 6.
Yeah.
I think this is where it ends.
I want to see a Subway World Series.
That would be unbelievable. That would be crazy. I think everybody can get behind that. When was the last time that happened?
2000.
2000.
Yep.
I don't see it, man. Like, I think this is where you run into a wall where the talent is undeniable, no matter the momentum that you have. And now that the Dodgers have an entire series of that caliber under their belt going into this series, it's still, I mean, like, you can't say like, oh, well, they've been sitting at home and now they have to come and play the Mets, who have just been on this historic run.
Yeah.
Like, they just played a 5-round match with their most hated rival, where there was all the drama in the world, and they still came through.
Yeah.
With home runs from Kike Hernandez. Like, I mean, that's not even Shohei was like 4 for 20 on the entire series.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to roll off the Mets, because we've seen this time and time again. And I hate to say David versus Goliath, because these are two of the highest spending teams in the league. But the Mets do seem like the little brother here. They really do. And you just can't rule them out. I think the depth of their lineup is what made them hit another gear. I remember at a point in the second half where they had this long road trip, and they went into LA and they won 3 of 4. They swept in a 4-game series. So they play well against these big, these big clubs, and
I can't believe
they did against the Phillies.
Dude, they've tricked us into thinking the Mets are a small market team, despite us just saying that they have the highest payroll.
I know, they really
listen to what you just said.
I know I made it sound like that.
I'm thinking about it too. I'm like, oh man, like, don't let the Mets get hot. Like, you never know what's gonna happen. Like,
I'm acting like they're going into the Lions' Den. It's like Tampa Bay going into LA. It's like,
right,
but it's really not. It's New York versus LA. The only thing for LA this series is, and I didn't see their starting lineup tonight, but who's playing shortstop? Because I know Miggy Rojas is out for the series. It's not like he's a world beater at the plate, but like, he's a reliable infielder.
Tommy Edman, probably.
Tommy Edman. Is it Kike? Is it Mookie? So they have options, but that's the only thing that's different for them this series. The Dodgers are the Dodgers, right? They've got guys they have guys from 1 through 9 that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. It's going to have to take some Mets magic for the New York to advance the World Series.
Yeah, how much does Grimace have left in him, man?
I know. He's been working hard this year.
He really has. Let's go to Yankees Guardians.
Yep. Yeah, the Yankees have their 4-man rotation already set. I think the Guardians only have one guy. Game 1 tomorrow. They have Alex Cobb. The Yankees have Rodon, Cole, Schmidt, and Hill. I have a note here for Game 1 in New York that Rodon versus Cobb is a must-win for the Yankees. And I say this because Alex Cobb is a guy that they should jump on. The Guardians rotation, especially their playoff rotation, they have Gavin Williams working out of the pen in the playoffs, is not going to blow anyone away outside of Tanner Bybee, but like on a normal team, he'd probably be a 3.
Yeah.
So the Yankees bats need to be hot. Aaron Judge needs to come out of his shell, and I think he started to in Kansas City. And Carlos Rodon, let's harness those emotions. I'm speaking as like a Yankee coach right now, but
pull it in.
but I think if you're a Yankee fan, that game 1, let's say game 1 and 2, because you're in the Bronx, are must win. But especially against Alex Cobb, go out there and get that first win. Let's get the series started. If you're a Yankee fan in the Bronx, and go to Cleveland up 2-0.
I want the Guardians to win. I think I have the Yankees winning, and I think they will. With the Guardians, I think it's simple, man. You have to get to at least 8 innings with the lead. Like by the 8th inning, you need the lead in order to get to Class A. I think it's as simple as that. Because if you get there, then you put yourself in a good spot to win these games. If not, like you're going to need a lot more magic moments with Lane Thomas or late inning heroics with David Fry.
It's not just at Class A. I mean, obviously Class A has been one of the best closers in the league, but like their whole bullpen is really good.
Yeah.
And guys you've probably never heard of, Tim Herron, Hunter Gaddis, like these guys, look at their numbers. They speak for themselves.
Gaddis is a large man.
A large man. They have a really good bullpen. So you got to jump on them early, got to jump on the starting staff. But what's different about the Guardians lineup, they've always lacked slug. We saw it, 2 years ago when they played the Rays in the first round. They like won every game like 1-0, 2-1. And then they couldn't get past the Yankees in the DS. They do all the small things. They play small ball. They're scrappy. Stephen Kwan does everything well. Defensively, he can lay down a bunt. He can put the bat on the ball. You got Josh Naylor, who I'm worried about his cholesterol, but like, man, he can he can hit.
That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in the league, but like they don't have a deep lineup. Lane Thomas, when they say that deadline acquisitions don't matter, Lane Thomas, ladies and gentlemen, he was difference maker between for the Guardians in that DS series. So they're not going to kill you with the bats, but you got to jump on the starting pitching in order to advance.
Yeah. 100%. Like I said, I have the Yankees winning this series. I'll say Yankees in 7.
All right, I'm going to say Yankees in 6. And I'm going to say Mets in 7.
Mets in 7, man. That's crazy. You had the Phillies, right?
I had Phillies over the Yankees.
But like, okay. You had the Phillies coming out. Man, it's been very unpredictable.
Yep. I
think if the Padres got through this series, I think my pick would have automatically went to the Padres, which the Padres might have to start considering how they want to handle this team. There's a lot of personalities with this Padres club where I think at the end it might have been to their disadvantage because they played the role of kind of like the villain a little bit in that series. And
it's entertaining.
It's entertaining for sure, but it's like, do you think we don't have to go. We're going to close up here soon. We've been going for about an hour now, but like, do they hold on to Profar? Does he get a big contract?
He's a free agent,
somewhere else. How do they keep building and spending all this money and keeping these guys, together? I mean, I guess it only matters if you have like Machado, Tatis, like great. Then you can build around that, but you're probably going to lose Kim as well, unless he signs a team-friendly deal.
That's going to be an interesting offseason because, like you said, they're losing 2 key pieces offensively and defensively. So, we'll see. I feel like they could, add an adult to the room. But you saw Manny Machado pull the whole team together in the dugout after his mistake of throwing a ball at the Dodgers dugout. But
I was going to say he almost killed a guy. So let's calm down. You see Dave Roberts was like, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just needed to get my guys fired up.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's like, it happens all the time. He's like, that's not anything, but I'm excited to watch this series, Scott. Maybe some exciting news coming in the near future for us in terms of programming, but you could always expect Noah Hiles bi-weekly, which means this upcoming Sunday, Noah will be on the show and we are going to do a deeper dive into free agency and probably maybe a more realistic dive into free
And
agency.
also like diving into like the trade market too as well.
Sure. Just all things off-season talk with Noah Hiles. If you don't already, follow us on Bucco Bantr, Instagram, TikTok, OnlyFans, Threads. What did I not mention
Truth
here?
Social.
Yeah, all of them. Bucco Bantr, BuccoBantr, YouTube. Go watch us, subscribe, comment, hit that like button. If you're only listening, make sure you give us a 5-star review. It means a ton. Download the episode and then go get some cold weather merch from buccobantr.com. I don't know if you
Got my
saw,
hoodie
Scott.
the other day.
You got a hoodie?
I did.
Nice. I added a couple of new Bucco Bantr script hoodies that I have my eye on that I think I'm going to be having shipped out to the house here fairly soon. They're the champion hoodies, man. They're comfortable. They're stylish. They got the clean script on it. What else do you need?
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's truly just works of art and maybe the highest trending fashion in the entire, maybe the world.
This is true.
This is true. Don't look it up. Can't wait to bring you more episodes. Catch us mid this week. And then, as always, interact with us on socials. If you have any questions that you want answered on the pod, we're going to do a mailbag episode. So shoot us a DM, comment, just mention us, and we'll see if we can bring up the question on the show. But until then, let's raise it.
Raise it.
Rockin' 101, she compliment my taste. Whiskey in my lemonade, cause I like the way it tastes. Best seats at the Pirates game, they let me run the base. Yeah, my time is like my money, cause I can't afford to waste. Wifey is a lawyer, take my date to my dates, or the steak by the plates. And